Hello everyone. In 1996, I was sitting in the university classroom, listening to a guy who was furiously speaking about underlined words and sentences. And I was thinking to myself that, what is this guy talking about? And what's the point with these hyperlinks and internet? Around the same time, a friend of mine bought a GSM phone. It costed a fortune, didn't really work out of town. We were using NMT by then. And he was teased to have the kind of expensive phone book. In 2000, around that time, we were a bunch of young consultants at Andersen Consulting, and we were speculating about the need of physical internet, kind of the topic of today. Our solution, or a joke, was based on plumbing system, and plumbing system as the backbone and toilet seats as the endpoints of the network. And when the first iPhone came with the apps and App Store concept, I was thinking that when the people fill in their phones with all these apps, there needs to be another layer, something like app browser, and we are back to square one. So you get the point, the pattern. I'm kind of epäilevä Tuomas, like I've been to the topic of today as well, which makes me totally capable of speaking about the future from a consumer's perspective today. The building blocks of the hyper-connected digital life are connectivity, mobility, computing power, merging the physical and online world, and perfected user experience, often in the form of mobile apps. So there are wonderful opportunities for all of us. We can order anything with the snap, we can become publisher, and even a superstar for a second. But from the company's perspective, it suddenly hires the bar and creates high and very difficult expectations. The user experience standard is set by the likes of Amazon and Facebook. Whereas the people, we as consumers, we have not changed that much. I learned from process re-engineering guru Michael Hammer that actually what people need is very simple. Everything to happen fast, cheap, right, and easy. So what has changed is that the tolerance for error and bad quality has practically disappeared. Is this guy following me somehow? My parents' generation was growing up in post-war Finland with constant need for everything and ownership being the measure of good life. In today's world, it's quite the opposite, at least in some circles. With the art of decluttering and organization in mind, I hear my wife asking the kids quite often that, does this item still bring joy to you, or should we get rid of it? It might be that Uber and Airbnb has brought us to the sharing economy concept, but I would argue that the fundamental change is yet to come. It's about the topic of today, and it's about all the other things relevant for consumers. Demos Helsinki founder Roope Mukka said it quite nicely, that it would be frightening if all the cars in the world would be operated by Uber and all the houses in the world operated by Airbnb. So let's do something. The consumers should be helped to understand the wealth of options generated through the technology and different business models. An Italian researcher group from the University of Brescia studying smart enterprises put down a framework for total cost of ownership for consumers and for individual people. You know, TCO has been mainly used in B2B context. The 4 phases here are product selection and purchase, deployment, exploitation, and end of life. And the aspects that the consumers are interested in are decision-making, ownership, training, usage, and support. Sounds very simple, but really the beauty of the model and the paper is that it's talking about one-to-one TCO, individual person, instead of the averages, where mostly the models are based on. You know the averages? Yes? They are the worst enemies of insight. Let's consider a transportation case from individual perspective. It's confusing. The future is uncertain. You can own a car, you can rent a car, you can share a car, and also the different other transportation methods and the business models related to it. There are electric cars, there are hybrid cars, and the tax consequences. Even self-driving cars available in the future with the ethical constraints and issues. The list goes on into city planning. So how do we organize the roads and parking spaces and charging infrastructure, which also means lots of opportunities for all of us here. All the data is available through the sensors and the systems that are interconnected. We know how the people are driving, the behavior. We know where, under which conditions, the weather data and everything. And we even know the actual situation of an individual car, not only the make and model history of repairs and services. But what is actually lacking here is a party to take care of the TCO calculation and modeling for the individual person, the consumer. In the name of circular economy, the consumers have the option to exploit the stuff they are using, they have been using through the secondary markets like consumer-to-consumer marketplaces. The marketplaces also help the users or the people in the product selection and purchase phase about offering the liquidity and pricing information when the people are buying new stuff. And that's the reason why the marketplaces also help the brands and manufacturers because the people can know that, okay, in 2 years' time or 3 years' time, I get some money out of the investment earlier. If the manufacturers are producing high-quality stuff. With today's technology, items can be forming an inventory of everything we know, own and need. Knowing the usage patterns, knowing the servicing needs, and knowing the resale price. If I would have that inventory and a little helper, a Siri of sorts, it could be telling me that the kids are not playing with the Lego bricks anymore, so get rid of them. And the air conditioning is in the need of repair or servicing. And these are, by the way, real cases from my life today. So from our perspective, it would create the passive inventory, a huge one for the marketplace. There are obviously huge list of threats and issues related to the concepts that I've been talking about. But with having 10 minutes only in my presentation slot, I can just have a happy face here and leave the issues for the subsequent speakers. So let's keep the people in the center of what we are doing and the services we are creating and offering for the consumers and have the internet for humans. Thank you.